Call to order. This is a board workshop for the Board of Managers of the Marlin Independent School District, being held November 2nd, 2020, beginning at 4 p.m. in the middle school library, 678 Success Drive. A recording of the meeting will be available for listening on the district website. The subject to be discussed or considered upon which any formal action may be taken are listed below. Items do not have to be taken in the same order as shown on this meeting notice. Unless removed from the consent agenda, items identified within the consent agenda will be acted on at one time. Roll call. Board Manager Terry.
Present.
Board Manager Vickers.
Here.
And I'm Board Manager Johnson. All three members of the board are present. We do have a quorum. Please stand for the pledge and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public comment?
Yes, there's one. My grandparents' land that was sold by Marlin ISD, but is owned by my family. How was our property able to be signed over to be sold by Marlin ISD to a different owner when we are the original owners of the property? That's all.
Closed session. We are going into closed session at 4:02. Prudent to Texas Government Code Section 551.074, deliberation of personal matters, consultation with Texas A&M University Comments and District Attorney. We're back in open session at 5:19. Next one is superintendent report.
Board President Johnson, members of the board, we will begin with our intervention plans based off our beginning of the year data, starting with Marlin Elementary School. Presented by Mrs. Edwards and Ms. Jefferson.
Ms. Jefferson, our assistant principal, is going to do the heavy lifting with the presentation, and we'll just jump in as needed. The principal will start off with plans for our lower elementary. For our kinder and first grade, we have a online platform providing our intervention.
But 1 second, and I guess I do kind of want to just provide a little bit of background and context. So I'll start interrupting. So the idea for all three campuses, the charge was, let's look at the data that we received from that assessment that showed 8% students reading on grade level first grade, 19% on grade level in seventh grade. And it was more so what are we going to do now? We're not going to wait until summer school or spring break to make the charge. What can we do beginning right now in November? So each campus has worked very hard to come up with a strategic plan to address the gaps for each student in their campus. Mrs. Jefferson.
So we'll start with our lower elementary. Our kindergarten and first grade students are receiving intervention through online platforms. We have Smarty Ants, which is literacy, and it's adaptable to the level that the students are at. And then we have Achieve, which is controlled by the teacher, and so it's covering current content that's being covered in class. Our students engage in Smarty Ants, the literacy side, for 30 minutes each day during their literacy blocks, and Achieve Math for 30 minutes each day during their math blocks. In addition to this, Tier 2 and Tier 3 students are pulled to teacher tables during independent instruction for guided reading and guided math each day.
I'm going to jump in just for a second. So the way we got our tiers was from our NWEA data that was given, the test that was given in the very, very beginning. So our Tier 1 students are students who are on grade level or above, and then Tier 2 and Tier 3 students are students who are behind grade levels or severely behind based off of their grade levels. So you're going to see multiple slides because we have something different for each one of our grade levels, because the data shows that they need significantly different support in different areas.
Okay. So then we move into our second grade. Second grade mirrors kinder and first grade. They also use Smarty Ants for literacy 30 minutes a day, and they also use Achieve Math for math 30 minutes a day, and they too get pulled. They pull Tier 2 and Tier 3 students to their tables for guided reading, guided math. The difference with our second grade teams are that they have a 60-minute enrichment block each Friday morning where they practice core content, stations for numeracy and fluency, and it's built into their schedule for every Friday. Our third grade students, our literacy platform for Smarty Ants, it stops at second grade. So our third grade students receive 40 minutes of intervention each day. However, they'll be using the online platform of Study Island during this time. We'll have 2 days dedicated to math and 2 days dedicated to reading. Well, they'll be using Study Island. However, they get pulled during their literacy blocks and their math blocks based on intervention needs. So those Tier 3 and Tier 2 students get pulled during those math blocks by interventionists as well. On Fridays, the enrichment block for third grade is not stations. Students are grouped based on their tier. All tiers get math and reading support. However, Tier 1, they have 30 minutes of problem solving, and then they engage in choice reading through book clubs. Our Tier 2 and Tier 3 students get that support from enrichment text and multi-step problem solving in math. And our Tier 4 students, those are our students that are severely behind performing on pre-K and kinder levels. They continue with Study Island, but they also get the Smarty Ants enrichment for literacy that our K2 students practice.
And I want to chime in also right here that the data shows that a high number of our students need significant level of support, but it also shows that we have a healthy group of students who are performing very, very well. We don't want to set our whole model up on a deficit model. We want to continue to push our students. So that's why those Tier 1 students, if you notice at the top, it says Fridays are focused on mastery level performance. So not just getting our students to pass, but they're already at that level, pushing them to the next level for our accountability for us not to get hit in mastery level or means level performance.
Could you give us an idea how many are Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4?
Yes.
Third grade?
Yes, absolutely. So in third grade right now, out of 75 students, we have about 15 students that are considered Tier 1, which are they're on grade level for both math and reading. The majority of our students fall in that Tier 3 range. So we have about 15 that are in the Tier 1 range. We have about 20 that are in Tier 2, and the remaining students fall into our Tier 3 range.
None at 4.
Well, Dr. Parker gets on me. We don't really have a Tier 4. It stops at Tier 3, but a child who's 2 grade levels
They're
behind
deep Tier 3.
versus a child whose scores were so low they were barely able to make it onto the continuum where they're labeled as a beginning reader. We did our own internal tiering of a Tier 4, but it's really only Tier 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
Yes.
So half the class is at Tier 3.
Yes. Yes. At least.
In the campuses, they went through an activity at the last principals meeting to color code the data. And so we did notice kind of the green was one color, yellow kind of smaller, but then that red was more significant, yes.
Okay, so for our fourth grade intervention block, continued focus on multi-step problem solving and reading comprehension. These students, based on just local data as well as NWE data, our students struggle significantly in math for fourth grade. So as of now, we have a whole group focused on math during that 40-minute intervention block. All content teachers participate in this, as well as our instructional coaches, our interventionists, ed teachers, as well as our administrators on campus. So their reading support comes in for those students that are significantly behind. They do need that reading support. They get pulled during their literacy block during ELAR for 40 minutes to work with an interventionist. So during that enrichment block for fourth grade on Fridays, in that morning piece, their focus is solely on writer's workshop, as our fourth graders have the writing assessment. So their entire enrichment block is focused on station. So they work on grammar, writing structure, sentence and paragraph expansion, as well as revising and editing during this 90-minute writer's block. Again, our fifth grade is similar. During that Monday through Thursday schedule, they also have the 40-minute intervention built into their schedule. They'll be doing study island as well, 2 days for math, 2 days for ELAR. They also get pulled during their actual literacy block. Our tier 3 students get pulled for support, 40 minutes for reading by the interventionist, and they get pulled during their math block to work on fluency for those that need it. Enrichment on Fridays for fifth grade. They have a focus on math, ELAR, and we added science for this grade level because of the science test. The tier 1 students receive math and reading support because they participate in a book club. However, tier 2 and tier 3, they focus on rotations of math, science, and ELAR. And then our tier 4 students, which are our beginner readers, they get extra support with study island in addition to science.
How about numbers on those? 1, 2, 3, and 4. You know?
They're similar. According to science, all of our students are tier 3 in science. Basically, the NWEA data groups it differently, but all of our scores are pretty similar. The biggest need was in third grade, with them being fresh off of second grade, having missed that. But the variance is not significant. So we have about 15, same thing, about 15 tier 1 students based off of reading in fifth grade. The vast majority of them do fall into that tier 3 category.
And tier 2 would be 20?
Tier 2 is about 15 as well, yes.
And 3?
3 would be closer to the 15, 30, so we're looking at about 40. And we can get the exact numbers, it's just I'm thinking of my color coding.
It changes all the time. I'm just curious, what kind of struggle you have?
Yes, based off of the NWEA data, we have significant struggles, but we realize that that's old, it's new data, but getting them where they need to be now. So we heavily focus on both the NWEA data, but also the tests from our curriculum. And so both data are used together. Some students may have been shown that they were a tier 3 based off of NWEA, but we see that they're moving quickly through based off, and so we'll shift their tiers. They're very fluid tiers.
Okay, in regards to monitoring effectiveness of our plan, we do pull SmartEN's Achieve and Study Island reports to be reviewed weekly. They test weekly through the online platforms to monitor their growth, and the lessons for intervention are organized by our instructional team. We initiate exit tickets when we use our intervention times, the whole group blocks, and then our fourth grade writing assessments. We give an assessment every Friday to monitor the effectiveness of their mastery level there as well. We adjust tiers based on any data that we receive from any of those reports as needed.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have Marlin Middle School Principal, Ms. D'Amica Simmons, and Dean of Instruction, Mr. William Ely.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, Board Member Vickers, and Board Member Terry. Today we were tasked with making sure that we present our intervention plan from our middle school. So we prepared a PowerPoint slide. So We have decided to call it the Bulldog Power Hour because we have been allocated 1 hour for intervention for our students. And so the title for it will be the Bulldog Power Hour. So a little bit of background is at the beginning of the year, our students took an assessment. And based on the assessment, it was in math and ELAR. These are our percentages. Here you'll see that we have it coded. The D and M is that they did not meet standards. The approaches, meets, and masters. So here we have it broken down by grade level, the percentage of students that did not meet, the students that were approaches, meets, and masters, and this is by grade level.
And just to note that on grade level is blue and green. So despite yellow being a passing score, it is still kind of below grade level. So we see sixth grade math on grade level 3%, seventh grade 8, eighth grade 13, and so on for the reading as well.
So we knew that based on the actual plan itself, we were given an hour. So what we did is we accessed our master schedule. And so for Thursday and Friday, this will be the schedule that teachers will follow. Here you will see each teacher by classroom. During this allocated 1 hour, the students will be broken down into the tiers. So there's tier 1, 2, and 3. Based on their scores, we were able to group them by their tiers. So here we'll have the 2 teachers assigned to our 6th grade, tier 1, 7th grade, so on and so forth. So we have 1 hour for our power hour that will be allocated to address those students and their needs.
Has there been any kind of assessment that refreshes these numbers?
Okay, so this one was the assessment that we used for the district. We have since then taken some CDAs, and they just administered that last week. We'll determine if our students, how we'll utilize that data to determine if we move students up, or if students are progressing, or if they've regressed. So we have not had an opportunity to aggregate that data.
And the next time that we'll take this to get updated will be in January.
January, okay.
Okay, here you see our daily schedule. So on Thursdays, we're going to focus on math all day, and Fridays will be reading days. And so if you look at it, you will see how our bell schedule is going to change to incorporate our power hour there to address those 2 concerns. Also, looking at our resources for our math and reading, we have a virtual program or a computer program, Learning Form. Learning Form is adaptive. We use it for math and reading. So teachers can go in and make it individualized to wherever the gaps are for the students. They can address those certain teaks and not just doing overall. They can address, Johnny needs a 6.58, he can get 6.58 where everybody else is working on something different. Chief 3000 is an adaptive resource that the district has, but it's also accelerated. So it meets the students where they are and actually can push them forward. So we'll use that resource for our tier 2 and our tier 1 program of students. ReadWorks is another resource that we're using for our reading. And it's adaptive also where teachers can go in and assign certain lessons for certain teachers, for certain students. Here you will see the way I break down of our students. So if we focus on the first level, first row with 6th grade, I'm gonna kind of go through that and it kind of works for all grade levels. So with 6th grade, you see on the students, we have 4 students that is highlighted, and we have 3 students that's not. If we look at the students that are highlighted, those particular students scored in tier 3 in math and reading. So we signify them on Thursday, they will go to math. On reading, they will go to, on Friday, they will go to reading. Whereas those 3 students in 6th grade, that's tier 3, they're tier 3 in reading, math only. So therefore, they will get math on Thursday and Friday, so they can kind of get a double dose with their teacher face to face and try to, we can move them a lot quicker. So as we move through math and reading, you'll see the grade level and the amount of students we have. The teachers that we assign, so all our tier 3, math and reading, is the actual content teacher, the math teacher or the reading teacher that's giving that instruction. If you look at the resources for tier 3, we're using Learning Form and small group. So while the students are on Learning Form and working at their computers on their different teachers assigned to them, the teachers are pulling small group to really hone in on those skills that the students are missing, to help close those gaps a lot quicker. We're doing the same thing in our reading with tier 3, 6, 7, and 8th grade with the regular teacher, and they have an aid in reading to kind of
to go around to kind of facilitate the computerized intervention where the teacher can pull, because those numbers are a little bigger than our math at this time, at this point. We're using our other teachers on campus. Every teacher will have a group of kids, different tiers. They will have them in there, there to facilitate. We're not asking our coaches to go in and teach math. They're just simply to facilitate. We've strategically put them with our tier 1, which is those students dealing with Achieve 3000. So it's an accelerated computer program that will take them where the students where they need to go. Accountability.
Okay, and so we have a progress monitor sheet to make sure that we are aggressively monitoring and then going in and adjusting as needed with each student. So the teacher of record will be keeping up with the student in here. We have the tier level that the student is, whether they're a 1, 2, or 3. We also have if they're a SPED, 504, or L student. And these, we're tracking the TEKS, and we're tracking to see, are we closing the achievement gaps, which is our ultimate goal, is to make sure that we are closing those gaps. If we're not, then we're gonna have to get together and come up with a more succinct plan to make sure we're addressing student needs. So this will be tracked on how we're determining if the program is actually proving to be beneficial or not.
Can you tell me what a SPED student is?
Special education
Special
students.
education, I thought it might be.
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you, Board President. Board Member Vickers. Are there any questions for us?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We will now have Marlin High School Principal, Mr. Rockne Terry, Dean of Instruction, Mrs. Chris Shaver.
Board President, board members, we'd like to set our high school intervention plan. We've spent quite a bit of time on it. We're excited about the opportunity to work with our kids. Like we have it set up, we'll begin this hopefully next week. Ms. Shaver's our Dean of Instruction will present our plan. I'll be here for back.
Okay. This is what our data says. The students were given a beginning of the year assessment, like everybody has been talking about, in reading and in math. This is the result of our assessment. Before I start, down here at the bottom, I wanted to let you know what tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 students are. The tier 1 students are the students that are on grade level. Our tier 2 are the students approaching grade level. They could be just a little low, a little behind the grade level. And then tier 3 are students below the grade level. So the top graph or chart is our reading for the 9th grade. Tier 1 has our target, our percentage was 58%. Tier 2 was right at 8%, and tier 3 was 34%. Then as you go down, the next chart is reading for the 10th grade. Our tier 1 students were 64%. Tier 2 is 7%, and tier 3 was at 29%. This next chart is Algebra 1 for 9th grade. Our tier 1 students were at 62%. Our tier 2 was at 14%, and our tier 3 was at 24%. These are our instructional resources that we will be using. For our retesters, for English 1 and English 2, the first thing that they're going to receive is teacher instruction. The teachers are going to be working with them during that intervention time to make sure that those students are getting the requirements that they need. We're also going to be using Reading Plus. Reading Plus is a literacy program, and when students first log on, they take an assessment, and then that assessment provides data, and it also adapts to the student's level of reading. And then we're able to watch the progression, we're hoping. And then for the non-retesters, we have a retest in December when we do all of our EOCs. So our non-retesters are going to be working on Reading Plus as well. And then they're also going to be working on Achieve 3000. That Achieve 3000 is also a literacy program, and it is differentiated and it is personalized to every student. And it automatically adjusts as the student gets better with their reading, then it automatically adjusts to them. For Algebra 1, for our retesters, we're going to use Hedgehog Learning. Hedgehog Learning is a 10-day STAR review that focuses on the readiness skills standards. This is an intensive review over the most frequently tested concepts. So we knew we weren't going to have a lot of time with Algebra 1, and so we wanted to make the most of the time that we had with it. And then our non-retesters are going to be on the program called Agile Mind. Agile Mind is a fantastic program. It integrates the curriculum, and the teachers can assign what the students are doing. They can also monitor. You can look at the usage. It is cohesive and it's targeted supports to help our students. These are our teacher assignments. English 1 is going to be for our retesters. English 1 is going to be our English 1 teacher, which is Mrs. Turbiarte. For the non-retesters, it will be Ms. Sumter. For English 2, our retesters are with our English 2 teacher, Mrs. Larson, and our non-retesters are going to be with our coach, Hitchens. Algebra 1 is our retesters are going to be with our Algebra 1 teacher, Miss Lynn, and then our non-retesters are going to be with Mrs. Judy. This is our tentative intervention schedule. On Thursdays, we're going to have Algebra 1, English 2, and then our seniors who are not retesting will be working on TSI, SAT, ACT prep, filling out college applications, scholarships, and the FAFSA. And then on Fridays, we're still going to hit Algebra 1, and we're going to work on English 1, and then the seniors will be doing the same thing. This is during our intervention time on Thursdays and Fridays. This is the breakdown of our December retesters. English 1, and they're only taking the English 1 exam, is about 10 students. English 2, and they're only taking English 2, is about 3. Students taking English 1 and 2 are 6. We've got 4 students that are just taking the Algebra 1. We've got 5 students that will be taking Algebra 1 and English 1. We've got 5 students that will just be taking biology. We've got 1 student who will be taking Algebra 1 and biology. We've got 5 students that will be taking English 1 and biology. And we have 1 student who has to take all the tests. Bless his heart. On Mondays, our progress monitoring will be done during our Monday PLCs through our data reports that we can pull. Reading Plus and Agile Minds and Achieve 3000 have actionable student data that we can analyze, decide what needs to happen next with the student, and which ones are progressing, which ones are not. So we can design our program and carry on. Hedgehog Learning, Mrs. Lynn, Hedgehog Learning is a little bit online. It's not all online, but it does have some paper where they can practice. Hedgehog, she's going to give a 5-question assessment each Friday just to see where the students are, see what progress we're making, and then we will go over that on Fridays as well. Also, the teachers that are not on that list, that were not assigned to a specific classroom or subject, they will be dispensed throughout the campus. They will be helping, monitoring, tutoring, whatever we need them to do. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you. And so this concludes the high school, middle school, and elementary school intervention plans. And of course, we'll be providing an update onto how the plans are going. Next, we'll have Mr. Adam Lejeune with the ERATE briefing.
Board President Johnson, board members, Dr. Henson, it's that time of year again to start talking about ERATE. You've probably heard me talk about it before, but ERATE is a federal program for schools and libraries that provides discounts on certain telecommunication services and internal connections related to network infrastructure inside of buildings and inside the district. The program is administered by FCC, and it's managed by the Universal Services Administration Company, or USAC, which is an acronym that we'll see a lot. Here is the general process for ERATE. We have already determined our eligibility. We are eligible for ERATE. Submitting the Form 470 happens after doing needs assessments, and that is how you ask vendors for submissions for bids. Once we do that, we do have a mandatory 28-day bid window. And then once we are finished with that bid window, we can evaluate and submit, we can evaluate the bids and then submit our Form 471, which will allow us to make a contract once we select our vendor, and then we get our services, and then we have our discounts applied. Once everything is done, we do file a Form 486 that usually happens the following year. So here's the full timeline. As you can see, we are in November 2, Form 470s. We are looking to file our 470, which again is our request for bids, sort of end of November, to allow us to have our 28-day window. Some of that take place over Christmas break. Then after that, we're going to come back and evaluate our bids in January. We're going to file our 471, hopefully somewhere in February. And then by July 1, we should be able to have our services start and our equipment installed. So this is a sum up of category 1. Category 1 is what we call the category that handles external communication or telecommunication. It covers internet access and the fiber connections that go between our buildings. Our 36-month agreement for internet access is up at the end of June. We will be going out for bid for that service because I believe that more competitive rates are available. We are in the first year of 4 voluntary 1-year extensions for our fiber, which connects the buildings to each other. And I've done research on that. Our pricing is still competitive, and it is actually going to go down, just as it did this year by a couple $100 a month. And the cost of building out a whole new fiber network is usually astronomical. So as for right now, I'm going to recommend when it comes time to it that we extend our contract for another year. And our current estimated discount for category 1 is likely to remain at 90% due to our free and reduced lunch. Category 2 is new for this year as of the past 6 years. Last year, instead of starting the new budget for category 2, they extended it by another year. So we are at the beginning of a new 5-year budget. Based on calculations, we are estimated to be getting about $150,000, of which we are responsible for paying $21,943 in order to get the remainder. That money can be spent on cabling, networking switches, which aggregate all of the drops from the rooms, access points and firewalls, various other equipment and services that support internal connections, such as Wi-Fi or plugging in the computer to the wall. This year, I anticipate that we will increase our cybersecurity spending and look at a firewall that we actually own and that we actually manage, which will take some of the burden off of our category 1 money as well. Are there any questions about ERATE?
Thank you. And the last part of the report will come from Mr. Galloway with the business office workflow.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board. Dr. Kinsey. I just want to give you an update with some of the changes that we've had at particularly at the campuses as well as central office, with some of the business office workflow that we have upgraded. With formerly Mr. Terry also being over CTE, there has been a change with how the workflow will work with the campus. They will still report to Mr. Terry, and those items will be run through his office and through his approval to make sure that we still stay in compliance with all of our spending for that program. Also, at the central office level, we made some updates now, having a special ed department, someone to review the compliance, that we make sure we meet our what's called MOE, make sure that we're spending our money on our special ed students appropriately and at the right level, as well as our comparability when it comes to other federal funds that will run through Mrs. Holt's Claw and also through the special ed office under Director Jefferson Bustamante. Then in addition, as we move a little further up, as we move to non-paper or moving away from paper to more ACH, we have 2 individuals that will definitely be more in the hands-on when it comes to compliance of our spending, making sure that we are following all federal and local guidelines to make sure that we are turning in the right information and we are keeping our business up to date, making sure that we are also reporting the right information to TEA. So I just wanted to give you all an update on how the business office workflow has updated to some of the changes that we've had in the district. And it also better suits the skill set, I think, as well, to make sure that we are efficient and effective and transparent as possible. Are there any questions?
That concludes the superintendent's report.
Consent agenda is next.
I move we approve.
It's been moved at second. Is there any question? Not, we ready to vote? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passed 3-0. Any question about anything? If not, we stand adjourned.